you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.
Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This mailbag edition of SharkCast Pod is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi. I'm an OG from 2015, a supporter of the club for a lot longer than that, and this is our 10th season of podcasting, having a great time doing so. This is a huge week in the history of the club, the biggest since 2018 and one of the biggest in modern memory. We have two teams in two prelims, the NRL team and the NRLW team, and we have two teams in grand finals, the Newtown Shark Jets and the Sharks Jersey Flegg team. So very big weekend. I know a bunch of you are planning on seeing as much of it as you can in the flesh, and obviously a lot of people will be watching on the TVs as well. So let's hope it all goes our way. Now, we do know that for the NRL game, there's a bit of an injury cloud around, especially around our two centres. News will be coming out about that in the next 24 hours, depending when you hear this, depending when I release this episode, to be honest. Not sure when it's going to come out, so shan't be talking much more about that, but stay tuned to the official channels for all the information on who is going to play and where they're going to be playing. Hope as many of you can get out to the game. The team would definitely appreciate your support if you can get out to the ground. So it's going to be a competitive match. It's going to be a challenge, but you know what? I have a feeling that the club is up for it. So let's see how this one unfolds. But until we get there, whole stack of your mail to get through. The old precursor of, if this isn't for you, a mailbag edition. You can click off now and come back for another episode another time. Otherwise, please stick with us. We're going to talk lots about the Sharks tonight via your thoughts and feelings. I'm going to handle the mailbag tonight. There is not a special guest joining us for lots of different reasons. Nothing bad. Let's get into it. First up, I wanted to pay respect and say hello to one of the OG listeners, Jason, who's been in touch. Jason is the gentleman who had the giant fin at the ground, which we talk about from time to time, and a lot of you remember his handiwork. He travelled as well, and he's been in touch and just been talking about some things going on in his world, but he's hoping to be back next year with the fin, so that's exciting. See how he goes with that. Thanks to Braden, who was in touch, who wrote before the game last week, and he said we win and win well. Can't wait for the prelims. So Braden, thank you for being in touch and for your genius thoughts there. Stephen said, how good. Great first half, able to hold them off in the second. Happy for the team and the coaching staff, and especially for the fans. He said, so happy and love the podcast. Thanks for your efforts. Up, baby. That's from Stephen. Thank you very much for being in touch. We love your correspondence, so don't be a stranger. John said, a relatively comfortable finals win. Great stuff, and I loved it. Great effort from everyone. Trindle was standout, plus McInnes, Bailey, and Iro. Looking forward to the prelim. Cheers. That's from John. Neil said, we did it. I know you were always confident, Sam, but I didn't want our season to end. Trindle was sensational, especially in the first half. Nico did his job, and goal kicking proved vital. We dug deep and hung on and finally silenced the critics. Trindle was the star. Everyone did their job. The pace of the game was exhausting. The Sharks should be confident now. The pressure's off. No more noise. Can we beat the Panthers? It'll be a great day if we can do that. It's the only way we're going to get some respect. To be the best, you got to beat the best. I know who said that famously. As far as the critics are concerned, I believe it's mind over matter. We don't mind because they don't matter. Thanks for everything you do. Up. That's from Neil. Thanks, Neil. Wise words. Appreciate your support as always. We have a different Neil, actually. Two Neils in a row. This Neil was on the YouTube and said, thanks, guys. Keep up your content. Shark from New Zealand. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Dale said, long-time listener, first-time mailer, lifetime Sharks fan. Love the podcast. Listen every week. Thank you very much, Dale. That is awesome. Midway through the second half, I felt the smell of the Warriors game to it. Amazing first half followed by early second half try to the Cowboys. Disallowed tries to the Sharks. Missing some tackles, fatigue sets in. He says the boys need to stop trying to milk penalties. 2 weeks in a row they've been seen to do this on the fifth tackle and it kills our momentum. Criticism on Nico the last few weeks has been unbearable. He's an amazing human being whom I believe the club can build a team around, not just a team of talented players, but a team of good human beings. I can't imagine any halves pairing, even thinking back to Stewart and Daly, Johns and Johns, or Langer and Walters, getting us out of the game against Melbourne. They dominated the entire team and bashed us in a submission, just like the Sharks did against the Cowboys. Keep up the great work. Appreciate the work that you do and your co-hosts and enjoy the listen. That's from Dale. He said, P.S. I know the listeners are Sharks fans, but I recommend all 40 fans listen to Mark Burris' interview with Yvonne Sampson. She's a breath of fresh air and absolute voice in the Fox coverage. One of my colleagues, Vonnie. Thank you very much, Dale, and thanks so much for being in touch. Thanks for being a long-time listener and appreciate you being in touch. Don't be a stranger. Clayton says, as a long-time Shark supporter, great to see the team get the monkey off the back with a very good performance against the Cowboys. I really appreciated your balanced comments on Nicho Hynes over the past couple of weeks. Also good to see Fitzy not allow the media to put the win all on Trindle's performance. Whilst there was no doubt that Trindle was man of the match and set up 3 of our tries, the fact is the media wrongly attributed him as setting up the other one, the Cam McInnes try, which Nicho had for the kick. Yes, Nicho is not as dominant and in the same form as he was in the past, but I'm willing to give a player some leeway who has had 2 previous seasons largely carrying the team on his back. Long live the king of Caringbah. Hoping everyone gets out to Homebush in droves on Saturday night. Let's not give the Panthers any more advantage for this one. The week off is plenty. Thanks from Clayton. Thanks, Clayton. Appreciate that. Yeah, Nico's been copying it a lot and say what I think on this potty, and I try not to be swayed by too many different things except exactly what I think and feel, and I think at the moment he's still being pretty bashed, so let's see what happens over the next 48 hours, but I wish him all the best. I think he's copying it pretty bad. So Adam says, great to win, great to not have a heart attack. I have no idea how I got through the 2016 GF. He's also critical of Greg Alexander and Cam Smith on SEN radio about bagging out the Sharks crowd last week, comparing it to a Melbourne Storm one. He also says, dare to dream. Can we do a Bradbury? Cheers from Adam. Nathan says, thanks for all the amazing work on the pod. Thank you, Nathan, for listening. Taking a moment to savor how well the entire club is currently going across all grades. Fantastic stuff. Managed to get out to Allianz last Friday and had an absolute blast. On the Panthers game, I hope Fitzy is getting the lads to run at Cleary for a chunk of the game, test the shoulder out and wear him out as much as possible. We have to play smart and out-enthuse them for the full 80. Who knows? I've seen many prelims. Hopefully this prelim can be an upset. Thanks and up. That's from Nathan. On the YouTube comments, 12 from 121 said the Panthers side is so talented, but we have no pressure. And I think that that's a pretty fair statement. I think the only pressure is probably internally from themselves as a club and as a team. I think the outside noise is, they don't have much of a chance. Even a lot of the Sharks fans are realistic, saying, well, it's going to be quite the battle. So I think the pressure's off in that regard, but there's no excuses. Like, rock up, give them hell, hope you do enough to win. I think that's got to be the attitude. Joe said, I thought you was great on TV. That's referring to Kieran and I watching the episode on YouTube. Joe was, so thank you very much for that. David says, great to meet you at Strawberry Hills Hotel before the game. Thank you, David. Pleasure. It was all mine. Someone's going to get onto the club to replace Sweet Caroline with Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down. How good was it watching the boys belt it out and get around Nico after a good win? It'd be amazing to hear the crowd at home belt this out when the boys need a lift. So just on that, it has been raised at different levels of the club. And at the moment, the unofficial thought is that it's better off in the sheds for the team to have it as an internal special time. But I'm hoping that will change in the coming year or two, and maybe we'll get to do it as the run out, maybe we'll get to do it as some other part of the game day events, but the clubs are aware of it, so TBC on that one. You said also great seeing Tricky step up for the big one to take some pressure off Nico. It's a shame they missed so many games to work on their combination this year. They're only about 20 games deep playing together. I think they'll go on to do great things. That's from David. Thanks, David. Corey said, isn't it great to finally get to the prelims? We watched the Cowboys game from a motel room in Coffs Harbour as we were there last weekend for a wedding. I want to know if the boys are fully fit going to this week's game. Any doubtful players? Well, yes. Yes, Jesse Ramian and Kale Ito are under an injury cloud. So watch this space. You also say that Stone Street would be a good replacement for one of the 3 quarters. I'm so proud of the first half effort last week. I have belief they can do this. The Panthers are playing with a not 100% fullback, and the team has shown times of frustration during the season. Let's go get this, Sharks, then go to the grand final. Do it for the fans, do it for the club, do it for yourselves, and most of all, do it for everyone supporting the black, white, and blue. Up, up, we got this. That's from Corey. Corey's pumped. Corey's getting me pumped. Some praise from Aussie All The Way on the YouTube in regards to the interviews we did during the week. He said, your interviews are better than mainstream media. Case in point, the 10-minute interview yesterday with Nico. Spent the whole time discussing everything but his upcoming 100th game. Brilliant stuff by you, Sam. That's very kind. Thank you so much. I'm only reading it out because you wrote it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's my absolute pleasure to talk to those guys down there, and I hope that they get half the kick out of it as what I do. I'm glad that you as a listener enjoy it. Jamie from the UK, I think now living in Australia, says, great first half from Trindle, amazing, great effort all round. A little bit of luck in the second half would have won by so much more. Love the starting 13, the bench for Saturday. This is our best chance in 4 years to beat the Panthers. Up, up. That's from Jamie. Jamie's in Australia. Get excited. Next up we have Patrick, who I think I might have missed last week. I think the mail came in a bit too late, but a great lengthy piece of correspondence double downing on the fact that this season was more 2015 than 2016. Amongst a lot of the points you've made, you wanted to give credit to our fringe first graders like Mawini Hiroti and Billy Burns, who only play when the squad is stretched thin. When called upon, they haven't let anyone down. They form a highly underrated part of the squad, and I'm glad we have them. You may not fully agree with all the points that I've made, but I thought I'd send this in to try and avoid buying into a lot of the knee-jerk reactions that would be occurring around the team and Nico. Our level is higher than that of the Cowboys, and I'm glad that we won. All right, thanks, Pat. Appreciate that. Sorry for the lateness of replying. Give a shout out to Juz, who was corresponding with me last week as well, and I was a bit late to reply about tickets, I think it was, but I think he and his friends ended up being right near my big mug, which was on TV. Matthew has been in touch. Love the pod, all you do. Thank you very much. All the way from North Queensland. A rant on mainstream and social media this week was really blown out towards the Sharks. I can cop that, but the amount of stories and headlines about a single individual is outrageous. It's bullying, and to attack a single player about numerous things just to get a few clicks is wrong. Sure, the NRL and Sharks head honchos can do something about this. I believe Nico has a lot to do with mental health and all that, and everyone who writes these stories knows the backlash that it causes. Nothing like kicking someone when they're down. Pack of vultures. He's not even playing that bad or doing much wrong, but he creates a story or a headline and people buy into it. Sorry about all this as a first-time writer. I don't usually voice my opinion, but it's getting out of hand. Well, Matthew, don't be sorry. I completely agree with everything you've said, and anyone with even half a brain knows that it's been vicious, it's been over the top, it's been unwarranted in a lot of cases, and obviously in the last couple of weeks just out to get the clicks. And doesn't mean Nico's not up for criticism, because there are things that you can criticise about his game over the past month since his return from injury, but against North Queensland he played a great role, did everything he had to do, and it just happened to be that Trindle was the more dominant half. And been a lot of headlines around that and stories this week. We'll see how that pans out in the next week or two and in pre-season and that kind of thing. But Nico's not going anywhere. I don't believe Trindle's going anywhere either, and we'll see what happens there with how they make everything work. But completely appreciate your thoughts, Matthew, and always be in touch and don't be a stranger. You also said you believe Brayley holds the keys to the team, and it's power game with Tricky at 7, then Nico playing off the back of that. He'll have so much more time and energy to do this with Brayley getting us to the good zone. Yeah, I think that's really wise, man. Thanks for being in touch. Hopefully that can happen against the Panthers. Mitch, I am also late in responding to you about getting a drink before the game, so apologies if you're listening. Simon said, I am on the telecast for sure. You're like, there's the SharkCast bloke celebrating the try. That's right, Simon. There was a few SharkCast blokes, actually. A couple of us celebrating the try, but my head was definitely one of them, along with Kieran Fraser. So thanks for that. Chris also sent in a video, I think, of me celebrating a penalty try, I think. So thanks, Chris. And David also sent one in saying, good win up the Sharks, with me pointing to my friend Kieran. Steve says, that was one we needed. The choker tag is now off our back and the haters are now the ones choking. Great first half. If we play like that for 80 minutes against the Panthers, we'll be going to the grand final. Special shout out to Trindle, who played an A+ performance game. He was just brilliant. And Nico let him play, which was better for both of them. Nico shouldn't be copping any criticism this week for his effort against the Cowboys. It was top class, especially his goal kicking. The whole side did well. Optimistically, if we can play like we did in the first half, we'll win, but need to do it for 80 minutes. One game away from the grand final. You can do it, up. That's from Steven. Thanks, man. Hope you're right. Bo said, I'm never drinking again, up. Joel sent in a photo of me and said, well played, SharkCast. Sorry, myself and Kieran. Well played, SharkCast. Lee said, what is coming up at the Panthers video sessions this week? Couldn't help but notice the staggered line we presented many times, an example, but keen for your thoughts. Yeah, staggered lines are no good, are they? I think that rather than a lot of video this week, and I'm sure they are going to do a lot of video, potentially more video than on-field stuff, given the turnaround and some of the injuries. But I think you need to look at Isaiah Yeo, how much he runs the line, when he releases the ball, when he doesn't. Cleary going himself, third, fourth tackle from 20 out. Probably in an attacking way, how to kick towards their wingers and fullback and out-leap them like we did against the Cowboys. That's where we're going to get some points, as well as playing on the edges to our strengths and against their weaknesses. The other thing I'd be really targeting would be how to stop their middles, because the starting middles, at least, are unbelievable. That's where we're probably going to win the game, if we can shut down those starting middles. Thanks, Lee. Hope you're good. All right, next up we have Jay, and Jay said, it's time to believe. We finally won a semi-final. The pressure's off us now, on to the next step. Defy the massive odds and make the GF. I believe. Do you believe? Do our fans believe? I said weeks ago, if we get the Panthers in the semis, we'll win. They will not beat us again. I still believe we can play the Storm in the grand final. I know there's 90% of NRL fans, including Shark fans, that are looking at this being our final game, farewelling Royce this week. But no, it's not going to be. Upsets haven't happened in the semis for a while, but that will be changing this year. No 4-peat and no Barley for the Sharks, at least not yet. We'll be there and we'll play the Storm, and we can beat the Storm, but not looking past this week. As long as the players are fit, if not, don't play. Let's go Sharks, let's do the unthinkable and beat those Panthers and put confusion on the faces of all the doubters that are writing us off this week. We are GF bound, up. That's from Jay. That's a lot of positivity there, Jay, and I'm all for that. And I hope to goodness you're right. I think it might be a little bit harder than all that. There is a part of me that is hoping that we win for other reasons than wanting to go to a grand final, wanting the best for the club, wanting to have a great time in the next week over a grand final again, which I haven't done too many times in my life. And that reason is to really stick it to the critics and the other fans and all that kind of thing who are giving us no chance at all. A team finishes in the top 4 and they're telling us we don't have a chance. I don't care for that kind of talk. We do have a chance. It's going to be an uphill battle. We're the underdogs. There is no doubt about that. But to say that a team doesn't have a chance is ridiculous, and it's wrong. Jay, legendary piece of correspondence. Roscoe said, I think the game against Penrith will be set from the front rowers. You have to bring the grunt to their starting pack. It'll go a long way if we stop Fisher, Harris and Leota in the go forward. Roscoe, you're 100% correct, man, in my opinion. I think it will come down to if we can stop Fisher, Harris and Leota, particularly in that opening spell, but also in their second stint. I feel like half the battle's almost won. Now, they've got a lot of talented players, but a lot of it does come off the back of those big boppers. So I hope that our guys are up for it. I really do. Brent said, I heard you saying if the Cowboys lose and we win, you're going to bring up my post. That's fine by me. I don't mind admitting I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong. It means we won. Bring it up as much as you wish, Sam. I'm wrong and I'm happy I was wrong. It means we get to go around one last week. Now, Brent, obviously, I said all that in jest, so I hope it was taken in jest. We love the fact that you write in, so please feel like you can. And, you know, you don't have to write in and say that we're the greatest club in the history of the world. You don't have to say we're going to win. As long as you say whatever you want to say respectfully, which you do, then you're welcome to write in. And you have to know that I was just mucking around. But I'm glad that I'm able to bring it up and say, Brent, we won. How good is that? You do say, though, we won't be winning this week. The chances are like 99 to 1. I'm not willing to take that 1% chance. If you believe in miracles, you might. You also suggest that if we play like we did last week, but for 80 minutes, then we've also got a chance, which is great. It is a tough ask. You're 100% correct. You say you want to be wrong, which is great. You're giving a lot of respect to Trindle, Nicorette, Brayley, Nico, Kafusi, and Toby last week. Glad to see all 4 teams are in this week. The Jets and the Sharks flag team should win. You'd love to see the women win, although after their recent performances, you're not so sure, which I can understand. And you're hoping for all 4 teams to get the glory. Up. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate you. Hope you're well. Buckwit has written in saying that he has seen that Ramian and Iro are in doubt. I can't talk too much about that because I don't know when this episode's going out, but it is true. They are both in doubt. Thanks to Andrew, who's written in. He says he'll be out there Saturday night and can't wait to get out there. There's a bit of footy talk as well, which is awesome. You say that. You usually get to 2 home games a year, plus you always make a Townsville trip. It's awesome that you're making the trip to Homebush this week, so get behind the boys. Andrew also has a music question. He says, was I ever into the band UMI? I was when I was younger, but lately really getting back into their music, such great tunes. Andrew, I'm a massive UMI fan. It may or may not surprise you. And got into them when they were very much in their early stages, their independent stages, and playing around the inner city pubs in the, I guess, early 90s. The first time I saw them was at the first big day out. Yes, that's me showing off and also showing my age, although I was underage. I'd heard about them. I had an EP of theirs, I think. And once I saw them at the big day out on the skate stage, and I think it was something like Smudge, the Welcome Mat, the New Mile, or some order like that, and it absolutely changed my life. But ever since then, really got on to how good they were and used to go see them whenever I could, either underage or when I turned 18. And then by then, their singles were coming out, and we'd heard the song Berlin Chair at a bunch of shows and realized how good it was. And then finally, they released it, and I heard it on Triple J, and I remember thinking, this is going to take them to the world. And it didn't really get to that level, but they were very, very big for a long time. And their first 3 albums I really loved. And then the 4th album was slightly too rock and roll for me. And you know what I mean by that as a fan of the band. And I never really lost respect for them or anything like that, but I sort of fell away a bit when they got a little bit too, again, I use the words rock and roll. They got a little bit away from the kind of indie replacements, kind of slacker rock that I loved, and a little bit more kind of, glam slash, I don't even know what you call it, garagey, I guess, and never really stopped respecting them and following their career, and then got into Tim's solo stuff, and I actually got back into UMI probably a couple of years ago, maybe during COVID, just rediscovering a lot of things, and never forgot how good those early records were, but probably forgot the influence they had on me as a musician and as a fan. So yeah, huge respect. Tim's a really talented guy, all over the shop, music, acting, a very theatrical kind of guy, very entertaining. I've only met him once. I met him when I was young. He was young, and I was extremely awkward and very apprehensive to meet him because I thought so much of him. And that's just where I was at the time in my life. I was just this quiet little thing, and he was so nice, and we bonded over Bruce Springsteen. It's the only time I met him. We have some mutual friends. I believe he's a hell of a dude. And I dealt with Andy, the bass player, a little bit when we have played some bigger shows in my life, and he was involved in concert promoting and that kind of stuff. So, and I'd actually, out of all three of the main guys, well, there's four of them now, I guess. Russell, the drummer's a really big music fan, and I've heard through the grapevine that kind of is aware of my music, which is pretty huge. So, love you, I haven't been there the whole time loving them, but certainly the early stuff and then some of the later stuff really connected with, and definitely some of Tim's solo stuff as well is just awesome. That's my long answer, but yes, I like you, Andrew. Great chatting to Paul about things, and I know he's looking forward to the game this week. Michael was in touch giving some praise to our colleague Dave Riccio, who appeared on 360 this week and was fighting the good fight. So shout out to Dave, and thanks to Michael for being in touch. He also said, love seeing you in the spotlight with the Trindle try. Yeah, I got a lot of messages from a lot of people about being on TV, so thanks to everyone who did that. Shout out to our friend Claudia, who we hung out with last Friday, and it was great to talk Sharks with you. Hopefully we can do that again in the future. Brendan says, love the pod, helps with the long commute. I've been on Blake Island for a long time, happy to stay there for good, but I couldn't help notice against the Cowboys he struggled to get back to dummy half after kicks a number of times. Sometimes it took until the third or fourth tackle, not sure if he's injured, gassed, or one of those games. We need him 100% for our last two games of the season. Great atmosphere at the game. And then Brendan makes a bit of a joke because he gives me an idea for a project for the podcast. And then he also says, I know you don't like people telling you about what to put on your podcast. And while that is very true, Brendan, I also appreciate what you sent. And what you sent I've already been working on. And you'll hear about that I'd say in the future, not the near future, but in the future you'll be hearing about that. So sorry to talk mystery, but we're not going to give away that one to the public just yet. As far as Blake Brayley goes, Brendan, your point, I didn't really notice it myself, but I'll keep an eye out for that against the Panthers. As far as I can tell, he's in pretty good nick. I mean, he has played most minutes of most games of most years in his career, and that's an outstanding thing to do. So maybe the finals pace got to him, I'm not sure, but we can check that out against the Panthers. But you're right, we need him at his best for us to move forward. Sean says, saw you on the TV a few times. Awesome stuff. Let's go. Michael said, thanks for the episode last week where we featured a bunch of letters and mail. Plenty of feedback to keep you on your feet. It's not all doom and gloom, though. That Storm game, they were near perfect. If possession evened up, it would have been interesting. Thanks, Michael. Hope you're good. Hope your boy Will has a big game this week. Brad said, another pod down. You and Josh pulled me back in, made me feel positive and confident again. That was from last week. Thanks, Brad. Super appreciate that. Smitty said, after listening to the podcast with Coffee and Kieran, I knew it was you guys that I saw cheering the boys on TV. On the game, I'm glad Fitzy toned back Hines' workload. Guessing he would have said just keep it simple. Then Tricky played like he did, so it was great to see. Everyone has written us off as always, but we showed them last week. We can show them again. I'm pleased for the club that all the grades are playing finals this week. Up the Sharkies, nothing to lose. No pressure on us. It's all on them. Let's go out there and own it. Got that feeling. That is from Smitty. Thanks, my friend. Yeah, we had a great time, Kieran and I, last week, that's for sure. And you're right, it's great that all 4 clubs that we represent are in finals this week, and let's go get them. Let's go get them. Fraser said, really pleasing to get the monkey off the back. We had to win any way possible. How good was Trindle? Hines was good, solid in defence, some nice moments. This is the balance we need. A fully fit and in-form Hines playing what he sees, Trindle getting the team around the park. Throw in AFB next year and I'm very excited. A free hit at the Panthers. We need to believe anything can happen in a game. You need to be in it to win it. Yeah, I mean, we hear that word a lot this week, and the club has kind of refuted that. They're saying it's not a free hit. We're going out to do what we do and to definitely cause an upset, but also they belong there and they've got every right to be there and every chance to win. That's the club's point of view. I know that fans are also saying, well, it's a free hit. I get that. Nothing to lose. I mean, I think both cases are right. So thanks, Fraser. Appreciate that. Michael giving some praise to our colleague Gary Dover for his great photos from last week. So if you're not following Gary Dover on Instagram, definitely do that because you'll get a great insight into the Sharks world. Steve says it's probably an overstatement to say my advice was instrumental in the Sharks winning the game. Tricky kick for the touch over Nico. Just saying. That harks back to Stephen last week saying that Trindle should kick for touch. So again, I didn't really notice it, but that's awesome. I think I remember saying something during the game like, please find touch as a joke. But yes, well done, Stephen. Brad said, might be an early crow, but this year is somewhat Penrith-like with our club. Out of the 4 competitions Cronulla play in, we're in 2 grand finals and 2 prelims so far. Nobody is even close to doing that. We're in good hands for the future. Up. Yeah, can't disagree with that, Bradley. Very, very good stuff. Robbie says, congrats on the great podcast. Did the club end up getting any of the Finucane contract exempt from this year's salary cap? I don't know, Robbie. I don't know. I'll screenshot that one and try and chase that one up. I'm not sure. I feel like we would have heard about it if they did, but I don't know is the answer, unfortunately, for the moment. Peter sent in a photo saying, nice left arm there, Sam. It's another one of me being in the photos. Sean sent in a great photo from the Fairfax organisation with Trinder putting the ball down and Kieran and I being larks in the background. Ben says it's time for our pre-game song to be Won't Back Down, and I agree. Josh said, I hope you read this on the podcast, Sam. Nothing makes me happier than seeing this. The boys getting around Nico. Win or lose next week, this win was for him. Fairly or unfairly, he wears the entire weight of Cronulla on his shoulders. He may not always play to his potential, but I wouldn't trade him for anyone. No matter how poorly someone else plays, Nico will take the blame. And you know what? No one could pay me $1 million to carry that burden that he takes on. I'm so proud of him. That is from Josh. And I replied, you bet I'll be reading this out, my man. And I just did. So I think your words said enough. And I'm glad that you wrote those to us. Steve said, I'm famous now with a photo of me. It was a big photo. It was a big image of me on the screen. I absolutely apologize to everyone. It was just outrageous. Last week, Fitty said, thanks for the readout on the show. Up. Let's go beat the Cowboys, which we did. And I guess let's go beat the Panthers as well. Josh wrote in saying, listening to the flagship show last week, which I believe was the Mail episode with Josh Bolling. I want to give you a massive pat on the back. It must be brutal getting up on your podcast after a loss, knowing your personality could come under attack. We appreciate everything you do to get this pod up, and you deserve a beer and a Chinese meal from each and every listener. Keep up the good work, brother. Hey, Josh, that seems nice. I read that out without really reading it beforehand, but I appreciate that. You know, as Nico says, haters gonna hate, but it's what I do. I jump on here and we do the podcast, and it's one of the best things I do in my life, and I love doing it. So there's always going to be some negativity attached to things that we do, and obviously I can't please everyone, but I do appreciate your very kind words. The Chinese meal and beer is not necessary, but of course, sometimes I'll probably say yes to one. All right, I think that is all the mail. Is that all the mail? Gmail, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's all the mail, everyone. Thanks so much for getting through this episode with me. Appreciate it. We will be back. I'm not sure when, but we'll be back to discuss Sharks things. If it's not pre-game, it'll be sometime post-game. I'm really looking forward to the game. I know that there's some negativity attached to some possible outs, and we're waiting to see about that officially. There's also negativity given who we're playing and all that kind of thing. This is where we want to be. We want to be in the prelims. We want to be in the prelims with the chance to go to a grand final. If you get to a prelim, there's a good chance you're going to play someone pretty good. We're playing one of the best teams that's ever existed. The Penrith team, in their system, cannot be faulted that they are one of the greats of all time. It's up to us to stop that dynasty, at least put a pause on the dynasty. It's a lot of pressure on the Sharks to tell them to go do that, but that's their job. Go out and play without fear. Now's the time to see good football. We want to see good football. We don't want to see any fear. We don't want to see anyone backing down. We won't back down. And it's there to be taken. It's a big one, and it's a hard one. Penrith are going to come out of the blocks. They've had 15 or 16 days off to prepare mentally, and more importantly probably is physically. Physically, they're going to be a lot fresher than we are. That's just how it is. All we can do is turn up and play the game of your life. It's a big ask, but it's also what they're capable of doing. And no matter who plays for that team on Saturday night, put on that jersey, go out and play without fear. It'll all be okay. We're playing to win. Let's go get it. As a fan base, let's keep it as positive as we can. That's not hippie talk. That's not club talk. That's not black, white, and blue eyeballs talk. That's just me saying, win, lose, or draw, let's all be cool. Let's have some fun. Let's play some football. Up, let's go.
Cooper with the ball. Oh, Maloney is still... intercept. Away goes James Maloney. They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans. Maloney is there. Listen to the fans at Allianz.
Sharkies!
Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
And to all you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.